yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland Street Scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking, true stories need no embellishment.
Thank you so much for listening to the Opperman Report. I want to welcome all our new listeners at WWPR 1490 AM in the Tampa Bay area. We're brand new down here. We're getting a nice warm welcome. We have great advertising opportunities for local sponsors, local businesses, but also international websites and international companies too on our other stations in California, Nevada, Utah, and on the internet worldwide. But down here in Tampa Bay, Florida, we have some great opportunities for you to come in and get very, very affordable advertising rates. Get a hold of me at oppermanreport@gmail.com and we'll cut you a good deal.
A flooded home or business is never easy to deal with. You're left with a mess to clean up, having to deal with the insurance company to pay for the damages, not to mention the memories that are lost that you cannot replace. And Aquadam can be another tool in your arsenal to protect your home or business from the floodwaters, a hurricane storm surge, or the king tides. Give Aquadam a call at 707-764-2119 or look us up online at aquadam.net. We can help. We're also offering 10% off the price to anyone who mentions they heard this ad on the Opperman Report.
Hey guys, if you like the show and you want to show your support, check out the Opperman Report Patreon. You can go there and become a member for $3 a month. We have all the shows that you hear Monday through Friday on AM/FM radio. We have all those shows, but we cut out the ads, so you can hear that content ad-free. There's a $5 section where we put up all the old member section shows are going up over there. And then there's a $10 section where we have brand new content. 8 hours of exclusive content per month goes up there in the $10 section. But listen, I put up a lot of free stuff too. We put up documents, court documents, photographs, announcements. So you should make the Opperman Report Patreon a stop. You should stop there once a day and check out what's going on over there. That's Opperman Report Patreon.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting either through my website, emailrevealer.com, or you can email me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure and check out our Patreon. We put up about 8 hours of new content each month, and all the shows you hear Monday to Friday on AM/FM radio, we play them there on Patreon ad-free. We cut out the commercials. I know a lot of people don't like the commercials. You can also go to our Spreaker.com platform and check out all our archives that are free. You go there, sign up for free. There's a chat room, and you get an email notification anytime we put up new content. And I encourage you to go there and check out all the shows we've done with our guest today, Brian Heiss, about the Furman tapes and the shoes, the Bruno Mount. We did a ton of shows on OJ with Brian Heiss. We have him back with us, and a special appearance by Pat McKenna, who was the private investigator for F. Lee Bailey. He just told me for 30 years. So we have them both here, Brian Heiss and Pat McKenna. Let's start off with Brian. Brian, are you there?
Hey, Ed, it's great to be back on the show. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it really is, man. It's been too long, but this is a great topic, and the new book just came out, The Truth About the O.J. Simpson Trial, and you could find that at the Truth About the O.J. Simpson Trial.com. It's written by F. Lee Bailey with the help of Pat McKenna and Brian Heiss. But Brian, tell us about yourself. Who is Brian Heiss?
I've been doing OJ research and investigation for the past 5 or 6 years. Documentary filmmaker, media professional, and we went dark for about 3 years as Lee, Pat, and Jenny Belt and I were working on the book together. We stopped putting out new material, which kind of sat on the old material, and we're putting our efforts into this book. We just released a fantastic video. I think it's our best work yet, animated by this great animator out of Philadelphia named Jonathan Della Valle. And it's the timeline of the murders in animation form, and it's the most accurate timeline of the murders ever done. 63 citations throughout the timeline. We're really proud of it. And we're really proud of this book, too. It's a great tribute to F. Lee Bailey, who we just lost in early June.
And Pat McKenna, legendary private investigator, Pat McKenna. Tell us about yourself. Who is Pat McKenna?
Okay, private investigator based in West Palm Beach. I'm originally from Chicago. Got to be a probation officer in Chicago for a couple of years before moving my young family at the time to Florida. And bounced around probation down here. Then I went to the public defender's office, started a couple of programs, and then I went out on my own as a private investigator, doing mostly criminal defense work. So.
Gotcha. And hey, Brian, be careful. We can hear you rustling around over there and tapping away. This show will be heard in West Palm Beach on WWNN Monday to Friday. I think it's 8 p.m. over there. So you can tell your friends and family to tune in. Now, F. Lee Bailey, we just lost F. Lee Bailey. Now, tell us, was this a sudden death, or was he sick? What happened there?
Well, I think he was about to turn 88. Excuse me, and he had some health issues. And then I think it just ganged up on him at the end, and he slipped away rather quickly.
Yeah, that's a little scary. My dad is 88, so you don't even want to think about it. But tell us about the life and the history of F. Lee Bailey.
Well, in terms of my experience with him, I've known Lee since, about 36, 37 years.
Wow.
I met him when he came to Florida. Met him through his private investigator at the time, John McNally, and we became fast friends and obviously colleagues, and did a lot of work for Lee in the Florida area and then nationally, really. Lee's caseload was pretty much a national caseload, so we just bounced all around the country.
I guess you weren't involved in Patty Hearst, though, right?
No, a little before my time.
Yeah, a little before, yeah. Yeah, that's true. You're probably a kid back then. Okay, so the truth about the O.J. Simpson trial. Now, there's a bunch of books written about O.J. Simpson. What's new in this book that's new and exciting?
Well, I just think it's new in the way it's presented. The fact, actually the publishers, we thought about this book forever, and you couldn't get a publisher, you couldn't get an agent, you couldn't get anybody to do, quote, a pro-OJ, he's innocent type book, right?
Yeah.
If you come out, you all look crazy. I mean, the prosecutors all got book deals, and I mean, there was even crazy people that got book deals on the crazy theories and all that. But if you were just doing, like Lee and I, since, before the verdict during the trial, we said the guy didn't do it, didn't have time, didn't realize the mood of the country that's watching it during the day and then all night long on the talk shows at night. But so we just kicked it around. We'd make proposals. They'd shoot them down, not interested, that sort of thing. And then this thing finally hit through Skyhorse Publishing, which was Alan Dershowitz's suggestion to Lee. So we got with Skyhorse. But I've looked at this as kind of a catch and kill, to use the National Enquirer phrase, that they finally gave a little money, nothing like advances, you think. I think Lee got a little expense money to start. And I haven't seen much promotion or support for this book at all by the publishers. And I recently got an email from the publicist or whatever saying that I guess the way you pitch these books is you go to all the publishers, the other ones, et cetera, and Amazon and all that. And the word that came back to her was, there's nothing new here. And my response was, no kidding, there is nothing new here. It's all the same. It's just been presented in a way for people that perhaps have little or no critical skills thinking, or critical thinking skills, to take a look at this through the timeline Brian did and things like that. That a lot of material, there's only a couple things in the book that are kind of new, and they're not all that new. They're just new to the general public. You know, one of the witnesses that we wanted to call Tom Lang, and then there was a gal in Chicago that was on the phone with O.J. when he cut his finger, and then, of course, the timeline. And when Brian first told me about the timeline, he said, did you guys ever consider this? And frankly said, no, my concern was O.J.'s timeline. I wasn't trying to really think about too much of Goldman's, because at the time we really attempted to talk to the witnesses that Goldman knew, you know, Metzaluna folks and people that were his friends, etc. But no one would cooperate with, quote, the defense investigators, you know. We're not helping you, which we understood. So it all came out. Brian's timeline comes out through the testimony of all the Goldman people, which really shows when he shows up, which was consistent with what I called the ear witnesses that heard the dog, and there's a couple of people that claimed to heard things, but the folks that really came forward to the police first, not to us. I went to Chicago first, so I didn't even get to California until mid-July after the prelim, so we didn't start knocking on doors, John McNally and myself, till mid to late July. And so these folks that we got all had already been to the police and told the police what they knew. The problem was the police were not accepting of this information. It was more of a trying to change their story, or attacking them, or belittling them, as you saw in the trial, which is unusual because, you know, when a murder happens in your neighborhood and the cops don't know what happened that night, they usually say, anybody saw something, heard something, please come forward. We'll, you know, if you need, we'll protect your identity, stuff like that. So they had all that. But the problem is if you look at the timeline, look back, these folks came, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of that week, and then a little after. But if you look back at what Furman did that evening, he had convinced the whole detective crowd at some time between, I guess around 4 a.m, that, voila, here's evidence at Rockingham. Here's this glove. Let's see if it matches. So I think the whole law enforcement side of that was convinced Simpson was the one and only subject from this glove, and they just took off and running on Simpson. And again, Brian's got a terrific video that I use when I make presentations of all the really the first 5 days of this case, when all the titans of the media world that we knew and trusted back in the 90s, Tom Brokaw, Dan Rather, Peter Jennings, et cetera, et cetera. Remember, there's only 3 major networks, and I think CNN at the time. Every one of them is relating what they heard from, quote, sources. So their sources obviously weren't us. We're just beating the street. We're just getting into the case on June 15th. But if you look at the timeline of the media from the 12th and the 13th morning till the Bronco escort that Lee and I used to call it, not some chase. It was more of an escort coming back to L.A. But you look at that, and I, as an investigator, I'm thinking, geez, it sounds like the guy did it, because all I know is what I've seen on TV for the first 3 or 4 days. I don't get in the case till June 15th. Well, up until June, all the way to June 14th, and Brian's got on his video the various shows, and then it went on and on. It's not just these shows, but I usually tell other investigators I got in the case, well, I thought he did it. I didn't know what happened. I got very little information. Lee's office called me. Ken Fishman, Lee's partner, said, Patty, you interested in, we might get in the case, and can you go to Chicago? And I said, oh, my hometown. Yeah, sure. So,
the most interesting thing about it, Pat, is here you have one of the most beloved people across all demographics in America. And before they even knew if he was in town at the time of the murders, they were already calling him a murderer. Before one piece of evidence was tested and processed, they were already calling him a murderer. All that goodwill that he had built up for decades was gone in an instant before they even knew when he left for Los Angeles.
Yeah,
when he left for Chicago.
I remember that morning it was leaked very early that, hey, one glove was found at the crime scene and one glove was found at O.J.'s house. Now, Pat McKenna, and this was before, it legitimately was released. This was leaked out. But Pat McKenna, you said, I believe, 47 years as working for F. Lee Bailey doing criminal defense?
About 30, 37 for Lee, but I've been in the system for 40 since 1975. What is it, 4, 5, and 6, 46 years. I'm in my 47th year of basically being an investigator, whether it's a probation, parole officer, public defender, or whatever. So,
and all your time, and all your time and all your experience, have you ever seen anything like that, where one glove is at the crime scene and the other glove is at the suspect's house, and they're both covered in blood?
No. No, and in addition to what that stuff was leaked, if you recall, because I remember this distinctly, hearing about Simpson left town in the middle of the night to go play golf in Chicago. There's bloody ski mask on his. There's also bloody ski mask on his property. Mm-hmm. There was bloody clothing in the washing machine. There was so much false information that was leaked out. Worldwide, this is being watched by the whole world. Everybody's going, oh, my God, wait a minute. O.J. Simpson just killed his wife. And, of course, early on, there wasn't much talk about Goldman, but it was all O.J.'s killing his wife. And then the other guy, Goldman, he's just like an aside in the media the first few days until it became public who he was. So it wasn't just that one glove's here, one glove's there. It was, and I just was looking at, I gave a talk a couple of weeks ago, and as I was watching it again, you see the reporters going, massive gaping wounds, violence. It just went on and on about how, and it was a horrific double murder, but it was in the context of Simpson. And then they would quickly tell you, sources are telling us that the evidence is overwhelming. Simpson is the lone suspect. Simpson's the only suspect. And I mean, it's there. It's in one of Brian's videos. You can see them all. And it's from Tom Brokaw right down to the Chicago reporters, to the Los Angeles reporters that are kind of on each scene, if you will. And there they are in front of Rockingham or in front of the O'Hare Plaza and saying that sources are telling us the evidence is overwhelming. I mean, that's their words, So they're the ones leaking. We certainly couldn't leak anything. We don't know what's going on. And
well, guys, we're already 19 minutes into the show. We've been talking about this timeline and Brian Heiss's video of the timeline. Brian, where can we find that video, first of all? And can we just quickly go through the timeline step by step?
Sure. If you go to truthabouttheojsimpsontrial.com, you can watch the video. It's also on my YouTube channel, Brian Heiss Media. But the other great thing about the truthabouttheojsimpsontrial.com, if you click on supporting evidence, we have documents that the public has never seen, including Lori Menzione's handwritten notes about her phone call with O.J. in Chicago when she heard him cut his hand. The Furman tapes transcripts, Tom Lang's full statement, the timeline, and other stuff that will be added in the coming days and weeks.
Let's hear about the timeline, and then we'll get Pat to tell us about the witness in Chicago that he interviewed.
Sure. Well, essentially, the timeline focuses on, I guess if we focus on the Ron Goldman aspect of the timeline, we take you through his day. We take you through the fact, let's get to the important thing about the timeline. Everyone forgets that Sidney Simpson was having a sleepover party the night of the murders with her friend, Rachel Berman. They were dancing at the recital together. Rachel Berman joined the family at Mezzaluna, where they went to eat, the Brown family. And then afterwards, Nicole took Justin, Sidney, and Rachel Berman to Ben & Jerry's. They get home at about 8:15. They get home, and about 15 minutes later, around 8:45, she gets a phone call. That phone call is from O.J. O.J.'s calling to congratulate Sidney on doing such a great job at the recital. O.J. knows that Sidney's having Rachel sleep over. They're having a sleepover party that night. O.J. hangs up. O.J. does whatever O.J. does afterwards. And then at about 9:05, Richard Berman, Rachel's father, shows up unexpectedly at the Bundy condo where Nicole lives. The Bermans' plans changed for the next day, and he was coming to pick up Rachel, unbeknownst to O.J., who thought that, his daughter was having a sleepover party that night. The last contact that O.J. had with anyone in that house was when he called to wish Sidney congratulations on a great recital that night. And at that point, Sidney was still having a sleepover. Berman comes, picks her up, 9:15. Then you have the whole glasses thing at the Mezzaluna. Judy Brown dropped her glasses. Karen Crawford, the hostess at Mezzaluna, found them in the street by the gutter. Judy's very happy. Karen puts them in an envelope marked prescription glasses. Nicole Simpson will pick up. Nicole calls Mezzaluna, asks to talk to Ron, asks if he could drop off her mom's glasses to him. Ron leaves Mezzaluna at about 9:55 or 10 p.m., walks home. It's a 5-minute walk home. Goes home, eats a spinach salad, showers. According to Kim Goldman, Ron chooses his outfit for the night and gets dressed, gets ready. According to this is not in the timeline, but according to Andrea, Ron's friend Andrea, whose car he was borrowing, Ron was also dog sitting for her, so he may have walked the dog at some point. We don't know. I didn't include that in the timeline. Ron gets to Bundy at about 10:32, 10:33. We know this because as he rings the buzzer, Nicole's Akita starts to bark, and that's when Denise Pilnack, her neighbor, the only neighbor with indisputable evidence, her phone records, that puts the murders occurring at 10:34, which is almost exactly the same time that Ron Goldman will get there. The killings were a prolonged struggle, according to the 3 top criminalists in the world. The killer or killers would have been covered in blood, also according to the 3 top criminalists in the world. And at 10:55, O.J. is spotted walking out of his house to there. In front of his house, he had 2 benches in the driveway where he put his bags down, and then Alan Park, the limo driver, at 10:55, sees the figure walk back in, but when Park drives up, there are 2 bags sitting right there. Let's draw the conclusion. O.J. dropped the bags dropped his luggage for Chicago at the end of the driveway so the limo driver could get him. So the timing is impossible. It is impossible for in 19, 20 minutes that O.J. could have murdered 2 people, got cleaned up, hid evidence, murder weapons, bloody clothes, somewhere that they've never been found, get cleaned up, get home, and shower even though that there was no blood found in the plumbing system at O.J.'s house, according to Gil Garcetti, the Los Angeles District Attorney. In July 1994, he made that statement, and from the evidence of the trial, we know that to be true. and come down, be cheery, ready to go to the airport. 5 minutes after Alan Park sees him, walk back in the house. It's impossible.
What about the theory proposed by Maury Terry that Darnell, the daughter, was there and she did the cleanup of the laundry and stuff?
Pat?
Wait. Yeah, you want me to speak to that?
Yeah.
Okay, Arnell had gone to a movie and gone back home and was asleep when she was awakened by, I believe it was Lang and Benatter, after they had jumped the wall and had come around to her place in the back to awaken her, and she's with cops the whole time. I mean, I don't know who came up with that theory. Here's another thing, Ed. Everyone that ever has been a friend or an associate of OJ's was thrown under a bus by the media saying, well, Kathy Randa had the clothes, and this is the first time I'm hearing that Arnell washed up clothes in the washing machine. But A.C. Collins, Bob Kardashian, everybody that was somewhat friendly with Simpson, not somewhat, was dear friends, etc., was somehow cast as an accomplice because one guy couldn't do this, okay? The only guy that could have pulled something like this off is, say, Sammy Gravano. I watched some of his stuff. The way they do a hit and get away with it and nothing's ever found is because they have more than one person. They got crash cars and gun cars, and they put shooters in cars and take off, and that's how it's done. Simpson was not a skilled member in the dark arts, okay? He wasn't able to do all this stuff. He had a blood in his eyelashes. I could go for 10 hours on this. But the media
he also would have bruises all over his body.
Right, and the media took off with this stuff that he's the only guy, and frankly, it's just that's how it stuck. And I used to even tell OJ, I said, you've been, whatever it would be, 5 months into the trial, 6, 8 months, I said, you're on TV 8 hours a day sitting in the defendant's chair, and then the rest of the evening is all these talk shows talking about how guilty you are and how the defense is trying conspiracy and blaming cops, they're framing and all that. We never had discussions like that cops framed OJ. I mean, I was in every defense meeting from the beginning to the end, and that was never a discussion. The discussions were always, once Barry Scheck and Neufeld came in, who were the experts on DNA, along with Henry Lease, we embraced the science, okay? So we're not saying that wasn't true. They just pointed to how careless and sloppy they collected it. That's why their quote was that OJ's blood here or there. I mean, they just mishandled everything. And that's easy to show through all the testimony, which we've done.
And we did that in this documentary
that
called
were out there about all of this cleaning up of blood and hiding weapons and all. Just think about it, Ed. Take all your friends. If you were accused of something, well, your friends might come and say, Ed, I'll do anything for you. Let's put our money together, get you the best lawyer. We could do this. But no one's going to say, hey, let me help you cover up a murder. You know, they took all these people that had never been in trouble in their lives before and made them out to be some kind of co-conspirator, a co-defendant, and assisting a horrific murder, getting rid of stuff. It was laughable to us. But really, the people watching, you hear these theories come out all the time that poor Kathy Randall, lifelong secretary, and Skip Taft is a lifelong business manager, and Kardashian, all these people are hiding stuff. It's preposterous. I mean, if my best friend did something horrible, I'd certainly say, let's make some calls to the best lawyer, but I'm not going to say, hey, here, let me take this bag and go hide it, you know? Oh, these are the wet knives and the weapons, let me hide it. No one does that. I mean, unless they're total criminals, you know, and Simpson didn't have those kind of folks in his life. He had just wonderful people that basically kept their mouths shut, didn't say much, because that's what you do in criminal defense. You let them come out with their outlandish stuff, and then you just show that that's false. We had to, you know.
Well, Pat, let me ask you this, because we're going to have to take a commercial break pretty soon. But did you ever ask OJ what was the reason for the Bronco ride there? Like, what was his motive behind that?
Sure. So they're going to go downtown and surrender. But if you knew O.J., he's going to do it on his terms. He had every intention of going downtown, and AC was going to drive him downtown. But he says, I want to go to the grave. I haven't been to the grave. I want to say goodbye. And so they went down there. There's media and there's people all around, and AC is getting frustrated and saying, we're going downtown. This is nuts. Let's go. And OJ's got a gun to his head. He's suicidal. So his motive, if there is such a thing as his reasoning, was he wanted to say goodbye. He's overwhelmed. 4 days. He's watching TV like all of us, saying that the evidence. He's got to be thinking, what is going on? I've just hired, Shapiro, who's then brought in Henry Lee, Michael Bodden. They're flying across. He got, an investigator in Chicago, which was me. He's got F. Lee Bailey in there. He should have probably, as he looks in hindsight, should have gone right downtown to the Parker Center, held a huge press conference, and said, "Here's what's going on. I've got these people all going, and I'm turning myself in, and you're going to see I had nothing to do with this." And he's maintained his innocence since he got back from Chicago to L.A. to this day, and that's probably what he should have done, but. When you're emotional and you're crazy, you say, no, I'm going to say goodbye to my wife, and then I'm going to go turn myself in. That's really what the story was, and you didn't hear much about it because the government knew the same damn thing.
Okay, Pat McKenna, one more quick question for you before the break. Yeah. What was the reason that Howard Weitzman let him go to that police interview by himself?
Well, if you know O.J., Howard didn't let him do that. Howard strenuously objected to that even happening. You're not taking anybody does criminal defenses. You're not going in there without legal counsel. No. I have nothing to do with this. I'm going in. And O.J. just overruled his lawyer and went in. Howard would have, had it played out differently, Howard probably would have had the case and got an acquittal. Howard was a terrific criminal defense lawyer, and so he just got overruled.
Why did he withdraw from the case?
Pardon me?
Why did Weitzman withdraw?
He didn't really withdraw. I think what happened was Kardashian was a good friend of OJ. He came in and said, "Listen, I'm getting word that this guy Shapiro can make this all go away. This is crazy. They got the wrong guy. He knows people. You know how it happens. That's what happens in this world. Oh, you got to get this lawyer, that lawyer, the sharp circle, and say, get this guy or that guy." So basically, they convinced OJ that Shapiro could kind of make the noise go away. Not only the case, because he's innocent, but all this craziness can be calmed down. And that did work, obviously. But Howard would have been absolutely terrific for OJ. He would have done the same thing we did, hired investigators, gone out, got the timeline, saw what happened, the demeanor when he cut, all this stuff. He cut his. I mean, the state's theory is, I could go for hours. I know you got to go to break, but the plaintiff wail of a dog at 10:15 is their time of murder. They claim they have blood drops on a sidewalk next to shoe prints showing that he cut his. That's where the blood came from, the cut finger, which is absolutely horse manure, because we know that he cut his finger in Chicago. We had all these witnesses that interacted with him, including the pilot of the plane that flew him to Chicago. He signed autographs. There's no cuts on his fingers, no bruises on his body, no nothing.
Okay, let's take a commercial break. We are with Pat McKenna, legendary private investigator, worked with F. Lee Bailey for 37 years. We are with Brian Heiss. You could find BrianHeiss.com, right, Brian?
No, it's ojsimpson.co.
Okay, ojsimpson.co, but we're talking about the book, Truth About the O.J. Simpson Trial.com. You can go there. You can watch Brian's video that covers the timeline very well, like he said. There's also all kinds of links to evidence. You can purchase the book there, or you can purchase it on Amazon.com. We'll be right back with both of our guests, Pat McKenna and Brian Heiss, after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at KMDlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to KMDlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland street scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking, true stories need no embellishment.
Thank you so much for listening to the Opperman Report. I want to welcome all our new listeners at WWPR 1490 AM in the Tampa Bay area. We're brand new down here. We're getting a nice warm welcome. We have great advertising opportunities for local sponsors, local businesses, but also international websites and international companies too on our other stations in California, Nevada, Utah, and on the internet worldwide. But down here in Tampa Bay, Florida, we have some great opportunities for you to come in and get very, very affordable advertising rates. Get a hold of me at oppermanreport@gmail.com and we'll cut you a good deal.
A flooded home or business is never easy to deal with. You're left with a mess to clean up, having to deal with the insurance company to pay for the damages, not to mention the memories that are lost that you cannot replace. An Aquadam can be another tool in your arsenal to protect your home or business from the floodwaters, a hurricane storm surge, or the king tides. Give Aquadam a call at 707-764-2119 or look us up online at aquadam.net. We can help. We're also offering 10% off the price to anyone who mentions they heard this ad on the Opperman Report.
Hey guys, if you like the show and you want to show your support, check out the Opperman Report Patreon. You can go there and become a member for $3 a month. We have all the shows that you hear Monday through Friday on AM/FM radio. We have all those shows, but we cut out the ads, so you can hear that content ad-free. There's a $5 section where we put up all the old member section shows are going up over there. And then there's a $10 section where we have brand new content. 8 hours of exclusive content per month goes up there in the $10 section. But listen, I put up a lot of free stuff too. We put up documents, court documents, photographs, announcements. So you should make the Opperman Report Patreon a stop. You should stop there once a day and check out what's going on over there. That's Opperman Report Patreon.
It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me on Twitter or Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at Opperman Report, one word, 2 P's. We're here today with Brian Heiss. Check out our archives. We've done many, many shows with Brian Heiss about the O.J. Simpson case, the Furman tapes. You don't hear about those Furman tapes and all that stuff that guy was into. But we also have legendary private investigator Pat McKenna, worked with F. Lee Bailey for some 37 years. We're talking about the new book. F. Lee Bailey, unfortunately, has passed on just a few days before the publication of this book, Truth About the O.J. Simpson Trial.com. You can find it at this website. So, Pat McKenna, I was going to ask you, because you said you flew to Chicago. Now, what does Chicago have to do with all this?
Well, when I got the call from Ken Fishman, Bailey's office, we might be getting in the case. Can you go to Chicago? Well, if you know, Simpson went to Chicago from L.A. that evening. So my job basically was to be a videographer, documenter, or basically an investigator. What happened when Simpson got off the plane, all the way through till he got back on the plane. So I basically went right there to Chicago, went to the O'Hare Plaza, tried to interview the people at the hotel that he might have interacted with, spoke with the Hertz people because he had a golf tournament that he was attending there, and Hertz people picked him up at the airport, and then also spoke with American Airlines people as well as people that were on the plane and in the hotel and things like that. At the time, we're just trying to gather information, And since I knew nothing but Simpson's the main suspect, and now I know there's two people, it was kind of fortunate for me to be asking every single person about cuts and bruises. I'm thinking, I know nothing about the case. Do we have a self-defense theory? There's a guy there. What's that all about? Didn't know anything about this Goldman guy or anything. So fortunately for me, every single witness I asked was asked about cuts and bruises, and none saw that until he was leaving the hotel that morning when he got there. After he gets the call, he's at the front desk getting a Band-Aid for his cut finger, sobbing, trying to get us back to L.A. as fast as he can, forgetting everything about the golf tournament, et cetera, et cetera. So that's why I went to Chicago. So I interviewed all the what we call the O'Hare Plaza people, the Hertz people, and the American Airlines people, because you heard about this stuff about he hid stuff in a bag and all that. So I was able to track where the golf clubs were the whole time and the bags and all that sort of stuff, as well as all the people that saw a generally tired but affable man signing autographs after a red eye, going to his room, and then coming out completely freaked out, trying to get to the airport, just telling people, I got to get to the airport. So you get on a plane, get back home.
Hey, Pat, what did O.J. ask the people at the front desk for when he came down all frazzled to leave?
No, I just said for a Band-Aid. He wanted a Band-Aid for his cut finger.
Now, was the cut finger the same hand that he would be signing autographs with?
I think he cut his left middle finger.
Okay.
So that would be the other one, but you don't sign an autograph with your cut finger behind your back. In other words, you hold on to, like, for example, the pilot's flight log that came out and asked O.J. to sign it. People on the plane that looked at his finger, the one guy mistakenly thought O.J. had a Super Bowl victory and was looking for rings. So people were looking for stuff like that. But he had literally had no cuts or bruises on him. He's wearing like a white bandline or whatever you would call that, polo shirt on the plane, and no blood anywhere. They talk about this trail of blood. Well, there's no trail from in the limousine to LAX. There's no trail on the plane.
there's more blood around Furman than there is around OJ. Okay, let me ask you this. Now, was there actually broken glass in the sink of his room?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have a lifelong friend, Bob Weissman, when I called him saying coming up there. He says, my client and handball partner is Charlie Smith. He's the Area 5 head of detectives. That's my first meeting in Chicago, was with Charlie and Bob at the East Bank Club. And the Chicago cops were very upset at the time, by the time I got there, because they had treated it like a crime scene as professionally as they could, interview people like Brian Heiss or Ed Opperman, do full reports, name, address, etc., and send them to L.A., who immediately leaked this stuff in full to the press. So now you got media trucks on the front doorsteps of poor people that worked at a hotel, like the Caroline Gober and the front desk clerk, and people like that had spoken to the police, because they were, no one's hiding anything. I said, here's what happened, And so it was just a shame, but they were able to tell me. And he said, listen, we all the glass was in the thing. There was blood on a towel, etc. Not going to say much about it, but
you spoke to the woman who was on the phone with him as he cut his finger.
Yeah.
Now, let's tell us that story.
Lori Manzioni. But just quickly, the cop told me, he says, our Area 5 detectives at the time, our consensus was, you don't do a double murder and then clean up 4 hours later in another state. They didn't think that blood in the thing was related to anything but the broken glass. So to that, we speak about Lori Manzioni. OJ, when he gets the word that Nicole's been killed, that's all he knows, gets on the phone, calls Kathy Randa, who's his personal secretary, takes care of everything. I got to get back, blah, blah, blah. He's in a panic. Kathy passes or call forwards the phone to American Airlines people, the people she made the reservation for. American Airlines passes the call forwards to Cook's Travel in Chicago, where Lori Manzione's working, and they have a division for, I guess, wealthy, high-profile celebrity types for emergency flights and things like that. So that's her job. She's there. She gets this call patched in. It's O.J. Simpson. She's taking her notes just like, there's probably 10, 12 people sitting there. I don't know how many people, but, it's like when you call in, they start taking notes on their computer, and that stays. So we had all those notes that while he's talking to her, frankly, she didn't know O.J. Simpson from Bart Simpson, and there was a little banter about that. Is it spelled the same way? And I think O.J. said, I think I've changed my name. But he's talking about his kids are at the police department. He doesn't even know what's going on yet. He doesn't know what's happened other than his wife's been killed and his kids are in the police custody. That's all he knows. Doesn't know about a second person, whatever. So she's taking her notes, and we had all that. And really, that's where he cut his finger, that everybody made the big stink about that. Oh, he must have killed himself stabbing Goldman, after Goldman supposedly ripped off the one glove, not reaching for the glove that's stabbing him. It's the other one. I could go on for the nonsense of the government's theory and some of these things. But so Lori, I found her and spoke with her and got all this information. She sent me her notes, all that. So we had her ready to go in trial. And of course, Marcia and all them went crazy objecting to it. Now, why would you object to someone that's basically a civilian witness, an important witness that has truthful information? You know why? Because it didn't fit with their theory. This is what happens. This is how you screw up a criminal case if you're in law enforcement. You tunnel vision and knock out anybody that doesn't fit with your theory, even if they're telling you the truth, like all the people on Bundy that came forward. Their hair just going, well, here's what I know, and they got attacked and belittled during trial because it didn't fit the plaintive wail of a dog. They had a problem with the clock, so they did make the murder at 10:15 instead of real time 10:35 because there's, like we've been talking, there's no way Simpson can slaughter two people and get rid of everything by himself in 21 minutes or 22 minutes. So Lori was very important to our case, we felt, to explain the cut. If you want, when you're doing a trial, you don't have time. Like Brian had 4 years or 3 years he was talking about to do this Goldman time. We didn't have you don't have time like that in the trial. You just try to corroborate people that tell you a story like Tom Lang did. The reason we didn't call him is, just like this show, we were running out of time. Okay, so we had to narrow down a lot of our witnesses, and frankly, we put in, I think, 17 people in like 2 days to really show the timeline and the demeanor and the cut finger. But we didn't get Lori in because the state objected, and Ito ruled in their favor, saying we didn't have a foundational phone call, right? Because O.J. called Kathy. That was the record. And it didn't show any direct call from O.J. to Lori Manzione because he wouldn't know her from, Lori Jones. So that's the way the phones transferred over to get O.J. and Lori talking. So that's, to us, was very important, but not critical. I mean, it was just, listen, you people are saying he cut his finger this way. Well, here's how he cut his finger. We got this. It happened in Chicago. Here's the crime scene pictures where the broken glass is in the sink and the blood on the towel. But the way the media was reporting, if you look back, massive amounts of blood in the hotel room, and that's why the cops said to me, listen, we don't think the guy cleaned up after a murder 4 hours late. They also know that the guy would have got on a plane. There was a lot of things would have had to happen before he'd sit in a hotel room in Chicago cleaning up after a double murder. So,
Pat, let me ask you a quick question. Yeah. Something that's always curiosity is on one of those 9/11 tapes, okay, with O.J. when he's fighting with Nicole, he's screaming about Heidi Fleiss girls. What's the connection there?
That's the phone. Is that the phone call? Yeah, that's the phone call at Gretna Green, I believe.
Yeah,
that's
so
93.
He's going there, and now he's upset because he sees on her mantle a picture of her, or maybe it wasn't her, but I think it was that Keith Zlomzowicz with O.J.'s 2 children on his lap or something along those lines. So he's downstairs ranting because he's heard about Nicole and her gang doing coke and all that stuff out in Aspen and Metzaluna and all this. So he's really screaming and moaning about, how he fliced girls, drugs, because he knew little bits about it through some of Nicole's friends, Cora Fishman, Ron Fishman, people, Dr. Reinhardt, I think was the guy's name, that was Faye Resnick's friend or something. Yeah. And the men are kind of saying, what's going on with these girls and the cocaine and all these guys? And so he doesn't really know exactly what's going on, but he's ranting and raving because he's heard all these rumors about drugs and Aspen, et cetera, et cetera. So that was really just him venting. And as even Cato said, Cato's sitting there, so he never went upstairs. Nicole's in her room with the door locked, calling, you know his record. He's going to kill me. He's going to beat the S out of me. And it was just, unfortunately, cast Simpson into this horrific, abusive, screaming wild man when all he's doing is ranting about, her behavior with these young children that are his children too. It's like, hey, grow up, would you?
Okay, fellas, we got about 4 minutes left. We've been talking about the book, The Truth About the O.J. Simpson Murder, the O.J. Simpson Trial by F. Lee Bailey. You can find it on Amazon or on this website here, truthabouttheojsimpsontrial.com. Brian Heiss, in a couple of minutes, what would you like to leave us with?
I would say, look at the facts, look at the research that we put together in this book and on ojsimpson.co, all of our videos that really outline in a very factual, well-cited manner that allow the viewer and the reader to have the sources to verify. They'll trust but verify type thing. So I would say if you're interested in the case, keep looking out. We have a lot of material. Pat and I have done a lot of work on many of the topics associated with the case. If anyone's interested in additional topics that they'd ever like us to cover, I'm always available.
And Pat McKenna, what would you like to leave us with?
Same thing. It's been 27 plus odd years. I've spent a lot of time arguing with people about this case, friends, family, close colleagues, etc. Until about 5-6 years ago, I just decided, listen, here it is. And like the publisher says, nothing new here. If you want to believe 2 and 2 is 9, have a nice day. I'm not going to argue anymore. I was on Kim Goldman's podcast, and she said, I don't want to be confrontational. I said, Kim, I don't care about confrontation. I'm done with it. I'm just bored with confrontation because people don't argue the facts of the case. They go to all the usual suspects, all that blood, all this and that, shoe prints, the pictures of shoes, nonsense that you can go hours on discrediting some of that state, not only state information, but the tabloid type information that's out there. So just basically use your critical thinking skills a little bit. Look at the facts here. A couple things new. The Tom Lang stuff is new. It's not new, but it's new in the public. But if Tom Lang saw anything, he saw the people that probably were involved in the murder, because had they been friends with Nicole, we'd have heard from them sometime before trial, during trial, or in the last 27 years. You've never heard about the people that Tom Lang saw at 10 o'clock with Nicole out in the street. So other than that, just keep reading, I guess.
Okay.
Send in whatever your thoughts are.
The Truth About the O.J. Simpson Trial.com. Pat McKenna, thank you so much. And Brian Heiss, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ed. Great being with you.
Good night, guys.
Take care.
Good night.
And now a word from our sponsors. Emailrevealer.com. People ask me all the time, hey, Ed, are you still a private investigator? I sure am. Go to emailrevealer.com. We handle adoption investigations, infidelity investigations, where you give us your spouse's email address. We trace it back to online dating websites, catch them cheating online. Email tracing, locate or identify somebody from as little as an anonymous email address. Someone owe you money? Back child support? We can find that deadbeat. Locate his hidden assets. Locate his hidden bank accounts. Find his current place of employment, and even assist you in obtaining a judgment and recover that judgment for you. Emailrevealer.com. Digital forensics, computer forensics, cell phone forensics, recover deleted text messages. Create a report that you can use in court. Emailrevealer.com. 800-572-9762. If you find yourself in need of legal representation, it can be a very stressful time in your life. In my career, I have dealt with thousands of lawyers, I've dealt with thousands of law firms, and I can confidently recommend to you Keith M. Davidson at kmdlaw.com. Available 24 hours, 7 days a week. Just log into kmdlaw.com. That's kmdlaw.com. Or you can call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. That's 833-4KMD-LAW. Personal injury, wrongful death, STDs, sexual assault, car accidents. They handle it all efficiently and professionally. It doesn't matter how imposing the opposition may be, because the team at kmdlaw.com are battle-tested and fierce. They will not stop until justice prevails. Go to kmdlaw.com or call toll-free 833-4KMD-LAW. If you're in for the fight of your life, stop screwing around and contact KMD Law.
Before Epstein was the Franklin cover-up. Before that, the Finders. And long before that, the Cleveland Street Scandal. Pedogate Primer is a concise intro and overview of a growing child abuse epidemic worldwide. It features shocking instances of institutionalized and organizational pedophilia throughout history. Churches, cults, the world of arts and entertainment, the government, NGOs, charities, and major corporations are all complicit or culprits in many instances. Pedogate Primer delves into material that for many may seem like the stuff of conspiracy theories. For this reason, the book draws on academic resources, declassified documents, and other reliable sources, and steers clear of conjecture. Such shocking, true stories need no embellishment.
Thank you so much for listening to the Opperman Report. I want to welcome all our new listeners at WWPR 1490 AM in the Tampa Bay area. We're brand new down here. We're getting a nice warm welcome. We have great advertising opportunities for local sponsors, local businesses, but also international websites and international companies too on our other stations in California, Nevada, Utah, and on the internet worldwide. But down here in Tampa Bay, Florida, we have some great opportunities for you to come in and get very, very affordable advertising rates. Get a hold of me at oppermanreport@gmail.com and we'll cut you a good deal.
A flooded home or business is never easy to deal with. You're left with a mess to clean up, having to deal with the insurance company to pay for the damages, not to mention the memories that are lost that you cannot replace. An Aquadam can be another tool in your arsenal to protect your home or business from the floodwaters, a hurricane storm surge, or the king tides. Give Aquadam a call at 707-764-2119 or look us up online at aquadam.net. We can help. We're also offering 10% off the price to anyone who mentions they heard this ad on the Opperman Report.
Hey guys, if you like the show and you want to show your support, check out the Opperman Report Patreon. You can go there and become a member for $3 a month. We have all the shows that you hear Monday through Friday on AM/FM radio. We have all those shows, but we cut out the ads, so you can hear that content ad-free. There's a $5 section where we put up all the old member section shows are going up over there. And then there's a $10 section where we have brand new content. 8 hours of exclusive content per month goes up there in the $10 section. But listen, I put up a lot of free stuff too. We put up documents, court documents, photographs, announcements. So you should make the Opperman Report Patreon a stop. You should stop there once a day and check out what's going on over there. That's Opperman Report Patreon.